Welcome back to the second installment of the landing page audit or breakdown that I'm doing. So, if you haven't seen the first video, what I'm doing is I'm going through Brain FM's landing page and then I'm rewriting their landing page so it feels like the buyer, the person that's viewing their landing page feels like they're talking to a person, and it feels like the landing page has a voice. Because the most important thing to remember here is that when you're advertising online, it's because you yourself can't be there. So your landing page in itself is a online salesperson. Excuse me. So it needs to feel like the reader, the buyer, is speaking to another person. It needs to feel like a conversation. Too many landing pages are cold. They don't, it's just like information vomit on a page, and there's no sort of structure. And what we got to understand is that when we just throw information together and put it on a landing page, we have to think that these buyers, these readers, they have thoughts, they have objections, they have questions in their head. It's not going to be a thing where they just accept everything that you say. So in the last video, I spoke about the above the fold page and how to structure it and why certain things need to be worded a certain way. And then in this video, I'm going to be talking about building a belief bridge. Now, why do we build a belief bridge? Well, it's because, as I said, people have their own beliefs, whether they're true or false. A lot of the times they have false beliefs, and you need to shift those beliefs to be able to get them to take the desired action that you want them to take. Now, shifting somebody's belief, you have to be careful how you go about it. For example, if you believe that the sky is blue and I'm saying it's green, I can't just say, hey, the sky is green and you should believe this. You have to break it down. So the there was a copywriter in the 1900s by the name of Robert Collier, and he said to meet the buyer or enter the conversation in the that's happening in the buyer's head. So when you're building a belief bridge, you have to start with what the buyer already believes. If you go to the extreme of the belief you want them to uh, occupy, it's not going to work because people are just going to reject it straight out the bat. So I'm going to show you in a moment how I've built a belief bridge, and I've done it in the form of storytelling. Because one thing about when it comes to um, building belief or marketing, it's better to tell stories, because if you give people stats and facts, it just bores them and then they zone out. But people like stories because it it bypasses our analytical brain and it goes to a our more emotional brain, which is the amygdala or the limbic system. So that's why I've done it in a story mode. And also, as I said again, it gives the landing page a voice, it gives it personality rather than it sounding cold and like you're just reading from a sort of script. Now, I'm just going to quickly do a little recap of the above the fold. And when I mean above the fold, again, it's just the first bit of page that somebody lands on when they land on your landing page without having to scroll. So here you say um, you're using the eyebrow. This is what we call an eyebrow. So you're using it to identify the people that you're talking to, so they know that, hey, this is for me. So it says, want an ADHD tool for focused deep work sessions. People who's got ADHD who wants to do deep work, this is for me. And then it says, enter deep flow states with music engineered by neuroscientists. And I've done so. I use the word engineered, so it's like this is not just like curated by AI or just put together. It's actually people, neuroscientists, that's putting this stuff together, engineering this stuff. It's not just slapped together. So that's the way to differentiate yourself from, for example, focus music or Spotify music or YouTube music, that that's what people are going to think automatically. Hey, I've got YouTube, I've got Spotify. Why should I then pay more for another subscription? So you're trying to make the distinction that, hey, this is not a another alternative for focus music. This is the replacement tool if you want to focus and you have ADHD, or if you have ADHD and you need to focus. And then I say drift into deep work mode with ease, so you can write more, create more, and hit your deadlines with Brain FM's science-backed focus tool. So this is all benefit oriented and it's all results oriented. Write more. People want to write more. They want to create more, and they want to hit their deadlines. And again, I said Brain FM's science-backed focus tool. I didn't say science. I didn't say like with music made with science. I want to make the distinction that this is a tool for focus. It's not another entertainment app, which what you would call apps like Spotify. So you're making that distinction. And then you have enter deep flow state within 15 minutes of listening. So they say, okay, because people are thinking, how long will it take? That's one of the questions. And that's all your landing page is doing. As I said, you're answering because you're not there in person. So you need to be thinking of what is the questions and objections that a buyer or a reader might have, and you need to provide the answers there for them so they can make a desired action, take the desired action you want them to take, or scroll down below the fold. And then focus tracks tailored to you plus ADHD mode. And then this is a sort of a friction remover because people are saying, I don't want to be giving my card information. So it's like no credit card needed. Try Brain FM free for 14 days. Then the help me to focus, which is what people call a call to action, but I like to call it a call to value because it's centered on the benefit they're about to get or the problem they're trying to solve. So it's like if you want them to take action, get them to align it with the desired outcome that they want. Hey, help me to focus. And then the social proof. And I put ADHD as a sign of like identification, like, oh, okay, it's trusted by other people with this many people with ADHD. This must be something. So that's in a nutshell. I went over it quick here. If you want to see the proper breakdown that I did, watch the first video of this installment, and then you can see it from there. Now, as I said in this video, the next segment, when you go below the fold, was identification and building a belief bridge. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be reading through uh, the copy that I've done so in the form of storytelling. And as I go through each bits, I'll tell you why I've said certain things, or why I've written it that way, so it makes sense. So let's start. So it says, do you need raw focus for your work? Perhaps you write or you're a creative, a professional, but your ADHD derails your ability to focus. Now, this is what we called identification. So I'm saying, hey, do you have work? Do you need to focus to do deep work? And then I've put as well, do you write? Perhaps you write. Perhaps you're a creative, a professional, because you got to think, what is the job that somebody's going to be signing up for a subscription to get to get Brain FM? It's because they want it to do a job. You might have ADHD, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get focus music if you're not doing work that requires that type of focus. So that's why I've identified uh who I'm actually talking to here. And then I say, well, here's a full uncensored story of how you can recapture hours lost and get those unsexy, boring tasks done in record time. Now, this is what we call like a bribe to get them to read the next line and then the next line. But it's centered on getting them to show them the benefits of what they are gonna get if they continue to read. And that's why it's written like that. Now, the next thing I say, hi, my name is Gabriel. And the reason I put that is that you give it a voice. Now it feels like a conversation. And that's as I said at the start of the video, that's what most videos, I mean, not videos, most landing pages are missing, where it's like people just put information on a landing page and it doesn't feel like a conversation. And if this is a salesperson, if your landing page is an online salesperson, it should feel like a conversation, like you are actually there having a conversation with them. So I say, hi, my name is Gabriel. And just like you, I grappled with attention and getting work done. So it's like I'm building rapport. I'm resonating with their struggle. And then I say, you see, in 2024, every morning I drag myself to the office, perform fake pleasantries, pointless meetings, advocating for things I didn't believe in, must quit, but what to do? I needed a skill, a profitable one. I decided direct response copywriting. I binged dozens of copywriting books, learning theory, but here's where it got tricky. The time came to write copy. The novel gusto I had crumbled fast. So now, see, I've started with the story of the struggle, and then the newfound enthusiasm for a task that I wanted to do, which is copywriting. And obviously, it started well, but then again it dipped where I couldn't focus because I was getting distracted. So it says 42 minutes gone, 0 words typed, bugs under my skin. I fidgeted, stretched, paced, nothing worked. And this is sort of a way of identifying with people and the symptoms people face or experience when they are experience ADHD, when they're doing focus work, who's got ADHD. And this is not by me just throwing some words together. This is going scaling through Reddit threads and reading what people say about the symptoms when they're trying to focus, especially with ADHD. So this is what people are saying. So when they read this, it's like, oh, I get that same feeling. Oh my god. Now it says 31 days, 31 words later, I ripped out my headphones, slammed my Mac shut. And part of doing storytelling is showing people rather than telling them. So this is showing them that I was frustrated rather than saying I was frustrated. So ripped out my headphones, slammed down my Mac shut. I start again in 30 minutes. Some YouTube first. This is me showing them that, hey, I'm justifying why I'm not focusing, or that I need 30 minutes and then I'll be okay, which is quite what a lot of us do when we procrastinate. And then something remarkable happened. So from now, this is where I start to build the belief bridge. But what you're going to notice is that I don't throw out the idea that I want them to take on. I sort of just name drop it, but then I start with what they actually already agree with in their heads, the beliefs that they already hold. So I say, but by dumb luck, up next, ADHD and how anyone can improve their focus. Andrew Huberman's podcast. And this is basically, like on YouTube when you watch a video and then the next one comes up if you've got it on autoplay. And then I've just add this little bit here just as a sign of, okay, this is credible. They can search this guy up. He's actually the real deal. He's legit. And then this is where I name drop the idea that I want them to take up. But I don't go into it straight away. I just put it there. Modulating processes for the brain stood out to me. But first, let's start with what we do know about ADHD and focusing. And again, when you're trying to build a belief bridge, when you're trying to get people to take the or shift it, because you can't change people's belief, you can only shift it and get them to see a new perspective. So I said here, so but first let's start with what we do know about ADHD and focusing. So I'm starting with the what they do know, what they're not going to say no to or disagree with. So I said we know ADHD means low impulse control. Nobody's going to disagree with that, especially if you have the ADHD. That's a fact. So it's like I'm getting them to nod and say yes, and the more they nod and say yes, the more they're going to be receptive to what I have to say at the end. So it's like we know ADHD means low impulse control. We're prone to distraction by even the smallest sensory event. Okay, tick. Yes, we agree. But here's the interesting part. The ADHD brain hyperfocuses on favorite tasks but struggles with uninteresting ones, which is true. Where it's like we can focus on things that we find intriguing or are good at or just exciting because of the dopamine. But for like tasks that's hard, where the dopamine, the reward level is low, and it's like you don't get the reward instantly, it's hard for us to focus. So that's another nod. Yes, we agree. So I said, for example, I couldn't focus to write copy, but I watched a 2 hour podcast on how to focus, and people can resonate with that because, as I said, we can hyper focus on things that we want to focus on. And then it says we know the ADHD brain craves novelty, which is true. Our dopamine transporter, the root cause, and I'm telling them, hey, this is reason why. This is the root cause of as to why our brain craves novelty. And then I give them explanation. But notice that I didn't go all scientific with the explanation. I tried to associate it with something that's already in their psyche, something that they already are familiar with. So I just, it's more so for cognitive ease and cognitive fluency, because you don't want to get all technical and using jargon, science jargon that's just going to bore somebody. So I said, a buttery deep wait, no, I'm skipping here. As I said, let me explain. Imagine ordering warm lava chocolate cake with hand whipped vanilla ice cream. A buttery, deep roasted cocoa aroma coats your nostrils. A silky, gooey chocolate sauce oozes from the middle, and bam, the waitress swipes your plate before the first bite. It's how dopamine transporters work. Gobbles up dopamine fast, so you're always seeking more. So see, this is explanation I've made for as to why we're constantly seeking novelty, but I've done it in a way where it's not what do you call it, it's not scientific and boring. It's a way where people can relate to. And next part now, this is so now I've got them to nod 3 times already. If you've been following, so I've got them to nod 3 times. So now that when I'm gonna put in the main part that I want them to sort of say, okay, that makes sense. They've already agreed, so they're more receptive to what I'm about to say now. So it's like, um, but here's the interesting insight Huberman shared: modulating processes for the ADHD brain. For example, diet, sleep schedule, exercise, and music. They all help regulate brain function, improving focus. It got me thinking. My sleep, diet, and exercise routine all dialed in. So what's missing? And this is sort of like a reason as to why I go searching for um a tool that can help me focus. And then I say again, by dumb luck, I stumbled on a study on rapid modulation music supporting listeners with attention difficulties. So this is this is the bridge that leads me to obviously trying Brain FM, which you're gonna see. It's all gonna make sense in a moment. So yeah, so I said, then the next obvious thing, the buyer or the reader is going to be thinking, well, what is rapid modulation? Because they might not have heard of that. And then it's like, well, it's music with tempo shifts, volume changes, rhythm variations. The music shifts and changes, providing endless novelty without getting predictable. Now, when somebody read that, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because if it's constantly changing, that's why it works, because it's given our ADHD brain the novelty it needs. But then I give it another sort of a simple explanation that people can relate to. Is like, oh, I'm not fighting hard for this explanation. So it's like, it's kind of like giving kinetic sand to a 3-year-old while reading an important letter. The sand's unpredictability keeps the novelty factor high, keeping the child engaged. And obviously, you notice I've just left it there. I've not said, oh, and this is how rapid modulation music works with our ADHD brain. Because one thing we gotta understand, especially in storytelling, you don't need to spell out everything. The reader is smart enough to, and especially how I've broken it down in a simple way, they can connect the dots. So you don't need to you need to outspell everything and explain everything. You sort of take away the powerfulness of the story itself. So, and then then it says that study led me to Brain FM. And then I say, tried the 14-day trial, never looked back. I'm now writing copy for 2 hours plus uninterrupted. So now I've linked it back to the original reason as to why I went searching for a focus tool. I didn't say, oh, now I'm able to focus. Now I'm able to write copy. So it's like, oh, okay, this is benefit focus or benefit oriented. It got him to write copy for 2 hours. Maybe it can help me write my newsletter or my blog or edit a video without being interrupted. Um, and then I say, but before I signed up, I asked myself, and the reason why I've done this section is that people are going to be thinking, well, I've got a focus playlist on Spotify or I've got a focus playlist on YouTube. Why can't I just use that instead? Um, and then I say, but before I signed up, I asked myself, I'm already using Spotify and YouTube. Did I really need Brain FM? But here's the thing, Spotify is for entertainment. Brain FM was a functional tool for focus. So you see, I'm saying it's not another alternative to Spotify, YouTube. This is a replacement for a tool, a functional tool at that, for when you are trying to focus on and you've got deep work to do, and it's a big difference. And then what I do here, I sort of trivialize the price or the membership, which is, I believe, £7.42 a month. I trivialize the price and I frame it in a way as, okay, what are you set to lose if you continue to lose hours in a day? So I said, and to be honest, losing 2 hours each day on average to distractions as a freelancer meant missed opportunities and loss of revenue. So if you, as you can see here, is that I'm relating to what people can actually resonate with, like, oh yeah, he's a freelancer. We all know that some, the people reading it might be also freelancers, or even if you're a professional, you still have deadlines that you need to make. What are the cost of not taking this action? What is the cost of inaction? And then you put it in you make it as concrete as possible: missed opportunities and loss of revenue. And now you say, now the reframe, 25 pence per day, an absolute steal if it meant 2 hours of deep work. And we end it there. But what I want you to pay attention to is, do you see how I left what I wanted to say till the end, until I got them in agreement and getting them to nod? I didn't start with, oh, this is why BrainFem works. I got them to, I stated what they already know, things they agree with, and then at the end, I put the reason as to why Brain FM, or why rapid modulation music works, and and differentiate it from, maybe the focus tracks on Spotify, on YouTube. No, those are for, like, those apps are for entertainment. This what I'm bringing is a tool that you can use for focus when you want to do your deep work. The same way, for example, people see Notion as a tool for, as a second brain when they've got ideas. So they put their what's in their head down into Notion, and so they can access it at any time. Um, so that was a distinction. But so that's how you build a belief bridge. And again, the reason why you're doing that is that people are going to have beliefs in their head that you need to address. You can't just go straight to saying, hey, you should choose this because it works and this is why. You need to address, like, hey, yes, you might have YouTube, yes, you might have Spotify with focus tracks, but they don't give you the the focus that you're going to need. You need this instead. And but you do it in steps and stages. In the next video, what I'm going to do is, in the next section of the landing page, is tell the reader what it can do for them, the benefit, what's in it for them. Because now we've done the identification, we've built a belief bridge. Now it's going to be like, okay, but so what? They're going to be thinking, but so what? Now I'm going to be telling them, hey, this is what this can actually do for you. So that will be in the next video, which will be the third installment of the landing page series. So check that one out. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. If you found value in this video, like, share, subscribe, let me know your thoughts, let me know anything that that I didn't explain as well, you need that may need going over. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.